What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I am Love Coach Scott Catamas, and get ready. Strap on your seatbelts. We're going to go blasting into the galactic world. We have with us not one, not two, but three amazing galactic travelers, people that I love when they're on this show. I love when I get to connect with them because they bring so much fun, so much joy, and so much knowledge about what's going on in our universe. We have with us the amazing Zenka Caro. And I was so blessed. I got to spend a week staying with Zenka in Sedona earlier this year. This woman is constantly out there creating amazing things online, in person. I'd go walking through to the kitchen to get something to eat, and there'd be people playing ping pong blindfold and doing all these amazing things. And she is just the queen of consciousness and expanding our consciousness. And she does it all with love and so much play. So it's great to have Zenka with us. But wait, there's more. She has brought on her amazing partner that she introduced to the Global Peace Tribe, Stephen Altair, who is, I don't know if it's Stephen Altair or Stephen Out There. They kind of go together. It's kind of similar.
Yeah, that'll do. Forrest Yoda out there, traversing the cosmos. I think that's
exactly. But then, and we had already scheduled Zenka and Stephen Altair. And I said, hey, Alan Steinfeld, you got to join us. And here he is. So we've got with us these three amazing galactic travelers. They're going to give us the latest updates on what's happening with our galactic family, what's happening with UAP, UFO, government disclosure, and they're going to let us know about a very exciting program that I know I'm going to participate in, and I think a lot of you are going to want to participate in too. So this is what we're going to be doing tonight, but it's the awakening world, and all things begin and end with Omashar. So Omashar, I imagine you got something really fun to get us going.
I hope so. Beam me up, Scotty, I was going to say, but I didn't say that. They just leapt out. And namaste and aloha, everybody. How wonderful. I'm really excited for tonight's program because the stars are in my heart, literally. And so let's go on a little journey. I'm going to put in the chat box the lyrics to this song. And we're good. Sorry. before. There was one father in the sky, and words did not confuse, and everything was seen as all one line. All that dreams and greens, that breathes its life back into you, you into me into trees, it's all one line. You and I, we come together for a very short time. So why do we fuss and fight when we have here such a wonderful life? All that dreams and greens, that breathes its life back into you, you into me into trees. It's all one life back into you, you into me into trees. It's all one life. There was one father in the sky, and words did not confuse, and everything was seen as all one life. All that dreams and greens, and breathes its life back into you, you into me into trees. It's all one life back into you, you into me into trees. It's all one life back into you, you into me into trees. It's all one life. Yes, it is.
That's all Twinkle Omashar. We love Omashar, and thank you everybody for moving and grooving and dancing and all that wonderful
Dancing
and singing, and that's definitely a fun song to get us off to a good start.
Yeah,
Thank you, love you, brother Omashar.
Yeah.
Guess what, Omashar? It's Wednesday night, and do you know what that means?
I do, because she is here. I know it is.
I just randomly show up and manifest out of thin air almost. I think it's amazing, but not as amazing as our two guests. I love these two, and I'm always so grateful to have Zenka on. You just bring so much sunshine and joy into the world. Oh, and Scott is right. Oh, when we've got a friend who wants to be held, I've made friends. This is Luna at the Airbnb I'm at. So I'm really excited to talk to you both today, to all of you. And where's our other friend? Where's Alan? Alan, where are we?
There he is. He was making a phone call.
I was just in outer space. I was just traveling, landed in my spaceship, and I'm here in the Zoom. And it's great to see Altair again. Of course, Zenka, I talk to like every day. She's my coach, she's my making contact coach. So it's great to be here.
All right, let's start with, because there's so much to share. So I'd like to ask each of you just to take a couple minutes to give us what you're most excited about. What's something, an update or an experience that you have witnessed or observed that's happening that you're most excited about? And I'm going to start with Zenka. Zenka, what's alive for you?
Thanks so much, Scott. You know, I was thinking right now about the name of Alan's new realities of his show, of his YouTube channel. And I'm realizing what the cultural implications of us interacting with people from other planets and how they teach us about ourselves. And we'll be teaching them about us, just like a child or someone that you meet from a foreign country. It's like, wow, we learn so much about ourselves. And Altair was passing it back and forth some really interesting documents that we're going to talk about tonight about the physiology of extraterrestrial life and how it's evolved and what it's like. I mean, no one knows if these are even could be future humans. But we go back to the core, and you guys, all of us tonight here get to ask ourselves, what new realities are we about to experience? And I am constantly, like you said, Scott, you know, I'm in my house going, how is this possible that people are seeing out of a blindfold? Like, I'm constantly like choked up by the fact that there's these new realities that I never even dreamed could be possible. We just made music with trees in the jungle. Like, literally, I have a speaker that is listening to the way a tree makes music, and we'll talk about this later. These are all these layers of curiosity that we're all stepping into. You know, I just got back from Contact in the Desert, and I've got people sitting down with me going, there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of witnesses coming forward about what we've known about extraterrestrials. So it's, you know, I never thought that would happen. I was even thinking about extraterrestrials 4 years ago. I would even like care about it, really, you know, and now I'm saying, wow, I'm like leaning into the monitor going, tell me more. So this is really exciting to be with you here, everyone here tonight, to ask ourselves these really exciting questions and to be with leaders like Altair and Alan and whatever, who are venturing onto our porches to look up, or into our meditations to look in to see what's there and compare notes.
Beautiful. You know, so excited to introduce you. I forgot to do one of the most important things that is kind of part of my job here, which is that the majority of people who are watching us on Facebook. And that's because we are very fortunate to have the Sign network, that's SINE, put us out to as many as 200 Facebook groups and pages. So thank you, John and Summer Raymer. And we also go out over Alan Steinfeld's YouTube channel, the Conscious Awakening Network, Humanities Team. So there's a lot of people watching us that aren't in the Zoom room yet. And I want to change that. I want to invite those of you who are out there watching us, come on into the Zoom room so you can ask Altair and Zenka and Alan those questions you've always wanted to know. And it's really easy to do that. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com. globalpeacetribe.com. You can tool around our internet site and learn all about the different shows that we do. And then you'll see where it says click register for the new season, and do that. And when you register for the new season, it's going to take you to our registration page. It takes about a minute to fill that out, and join us. And you will get all the links to all of our shows. We do 3 or 4 shows every week. So for example, this week, here we are. There's the show that we're doing right now, Galactic Contact Update with Altair and Zenka and special guest, Alan Steinfeld. And then tomorrow, we have a special event on Thursday night. We're going to actually be live here in Ashland, Oregon at the Haven, where I'm producing events now. And we're going to have a live event with the Twin Ray, who are brilliant, and Kristen Hoffman singing music, going back and forth. And we're going to carry that out tomorrow night. And that's at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And then on Saturday night, we're collaborating with our dear friends, Tangela and Soul Search. And we're going to have 5 different psychics, all answering your questions. So you want to be in the Zoom room so you can ask your questions to our psychics. So join the Global Peace Tribe. You'll get all the links to all of our shows for the next 3 months, all the way through the end of, let's see, June, July, August, September, all the way through the end of September. So come and join us right now. You'll get the Zoom room link. You'll be in with us, and you can ask questions to Zenka or Altair or New Realities, Alan Steinfeld. And with that, I'm actually going to go to Alan Steinfeld. He, of course, has the New Realities YouTube channel, which is where you're going to find all things galactic and more. Alan, what are you most excited about? What are you really lit up about in our kind of galactic family world?
Well, the frame is cracking. The hold on secrets, on cover-ups, on the fact that there's a reality that the government and military are hiding from the people of planet Earth. It's starting to be uncovered. And there's been two whistleblowers in particular. There's a guy named David Grush, who is part of the intelligence, and there's Gary Nolan, not quite a whistleblower, but an insider who says, yes, ETs are here. They're walking among us. And this was at a public forum in New York. I could play a little clip of that, or we can do it another time, Scott. This blew people. This was a bombshell that went around the UFO world. And then that was May 31st. On June 5th, the debrief publishes a story by this guy, an intelligence officer who's coming forward as an official whistleblower. And a whistleblower is someone who's saying something illegal is going on within the government. David Grush was an intelligence person, part of the UAP task force. And he says people were coming up to him and saying part of the military is hiding from Congress, the legislative and the executive branch, secrets about crash retrievals and UFO bodies. And that's illegal. They are running amok. The military has taken on their own laws and their own way of doing things against any oversight. And so forget about ETs. Well, don't forget about them, but this is a constitutional issue. That's what everyone's so excited about. Because of their denial, the government's denial, and particularly the military and people inside what they call special access programs, SAPs, it is coming out. And the more they deny it, the more they're pushing themselves in the corner, saying eventually, okay, guess what? We have bodies, we have aliens, we have craft, we reversed engineer this, and we've sold it to, well, I think this is my guess why they're keeping it such secret. Insiders, and I'm just making this up, inside the Pentagon have sold these secrets to corporate interests. And I think that's the constitutional issue. If these are the properties of the American people, and people inside government are benefiting it without benefiting the country that they serve as military, whatever, then that's a highly, highly contestable stance that the military, as a rogue agent of what the service to the people, is running away. And they've been doing this for 80 years. So someone's come out and says, David Grush, and he says at great risk to his career and his life and his family, he's come out and says, guess what? There's some illegalities going on. And this was the major, major crack bombshell. And it hasn't been picked up on mainstream media because they don't know what to do with it. There's no place, and maybe Altair can talk about this. Where do we put ETs in the ordinary reality most people live in? You know, feeding their family, doing their taxes, you know, buying clothes. There's no consciousness of a bigger world, but we are at the threshold of a really exciting time. And this coming forward inside government is going to crack the whole thing wide open. And I'm really excited about that. If you haven't noticed. Yes.
The video that you have, is it embedded in your computer so you could show it and it would play well? And how long is it?
I'll just show about 3 minutes of it. Let me see if can I screen share here? Yeah.
Don't share it right now because I want to hear from Altair.
Okay.
But on our next round, I would love for you to share it. Okay.
Okay, great. I'll do that. Yes.
But we've got Stephen Altair with us, and he is a most fascinating, amazing human being. Altair, you travel all over the world. You are really kind of in touch with a lot of amazing people doing a lot of amazing things. And you're also helping there's no such thing as a normal person, but you're helping, people that are not necessarily contactees have contact. So what are you most excited about right now?
Well, actually tagging right on to what Alan and Zenka were saying, and perhaps as a tribute to where you're sitting, Scott, I've been in, just in the last few weeks, I've been in many different parts of the world. And the biggest insight and aha that I've had is that a lot of the people that Alan is speaking about, so the leaders of our planet, who I have the good grace and blessings to be in touch with personally, so I'll get to sit with them in a room. It's all confidential. So nobody's allowed to share who these people are, but I can tell you they are the people at the top of the echelons of power on our planet. And they are all speaking exactly to what Zenka and Alan and Scott are speaking to. They are talking about their own direct experience of otherworldly, of beings that are contacting them from outside planet Earth. Now, these are people that look at me in astonishment when I confirm that I'm in touch with people all around the world just like them, because of course you can feel very alone. The reason that a lot of our people in positions of power don't reveal this is because they're scared. They're scared of the same sort of judgmental behavior that it runs rife in all our governments. And that is the moment that you say things out of step, you're seen as an outsider. But I can tell you right now in our governments and in our corporations and in our leaders of our planet that exactly the same intuition that you've got, and that is that you are not alone and that we are not alone, is actually running ripe across our planet. So that part has really, really excited me because I've been able to sit directly with those people who are in positions of power and actually hear directly, just as I have from astronauts and scientists across the planet, exactly the same thing. So I've been in the company of astronauts who have told me that same thing. When they're out there beyond the Earth, they receive downloads, they receive messages, they receive, unwaveringly reliable messages from out beyond our atmosphere that other civilizations exist. And equally I've been in touch with psychologists and biologists who always say to me, they start off with the same thing. I realize that because I'm trained as a psychotherapist, as amongst many other things. And they always say, we know that you're a trained therapist. And so we know that what you're going to do will be kept confidential, by name, obviously, and by role or by job. I say, yeah, sure. But I said, are you okay if I speak about this generally? And they said, yeah, but so long as we're not identified. And so these are people who are speaking of the kind of experience where they go outside with their children and both of them at the same time receive a message from beyond and saying actually either downloads or speaking to them or information from the star movements in the stars that obviously they know, as for example, astrophysicists, that stars don't move, and yet they know when something happens in the cosmos that is entirely out of the ordinary. So that's what I've been present to just only in the last few months. And so as you're listening to me, consider all the way. So this is the other part of this excitement. When people have shared this with me, so these can be military personnel, psychologists, heads of government, people who are at the head of the major corporations, our oil and gas leaders, when I say leaders, I'm talking about people who actually have the potential to flip the lid on this planet and actually support climate change, because that's why I want to be in their company, is I want to actually say to them, you're not alone, take a risk, actually get out of this zone where you're scared to actually make a move out of what's plaguing our planet and actually shift. And that's what happens, is that they actually start to realize that they're not alone, that we're all one human family, that we're love, and that we're all awakening together. So I feel very privileged to be able to do that. And what they're speaking to is the different ways that these messages are coming through. So especially as you're listening right now, I want you to consider some of the ways that you've been receiving downloads or informations or messages, and put them in the chat now. And these could be, so I'm going to give you a few basic ways that might happen, but equally, I want you to consider the entire realm of the senses. Now, here I'm speaking way beyond 5 senses. So traditionally, we often think of getting messages and downloads like, oh, I'm going to receive an actual voice in my head. Now, though that could happen, and that voice might say to you something directly or indirectly, that they're Arcturian or they're Pleiadian, right? They might actually come in that way, in that frequency. But equally, they might come just in speaking to the beautiful music here. They might come, songs might start playing. So I've had people who they've said to me, I'm receiving information, I don't know where it's from. I said, why don't you ask for guidance and ask for a sign? So they'll ask for a sign, and right at that moment, while we're speaking, their phone's ringtone will play, but it won't be their ringtone. It will be a ringtone from some deep past memory that they've had. So this has happened. I tell you, it's so amazing when it happens. Their phone will ring with a tone that they have not programmed. And it's actually, for example, it's a song that they used to love as a child, and it's playing on their mobile while we're speaking. So those kinds of, so really look beyond where you think, you know, the narrow bandwidth of where you think you might receive messages from. And look way beyond that. Can be buzzing, high frequencies, all kinds of different sounds, you know, intuitions that you get where, and I'm going to give an example a bit later on of a few ways that this has happened even to my family and I. But consider beyond the realms of the traditional senses that you tend to think of. So we tend to think, you know, touch, taste, smell, you know, hearing, and so on. Now, consider this, for example, that you might be out there. This is often what happens to my daughter. You might be out there under the sky. So consider not just your physical senses like, oh, I've got to see one. Just think in pure directional terms. So my daughter will be, she has a very magnetic, you know, directional response to ETs. So she'll be out there under the night sky, and she'll suddenly turn in a particular direction with her eyes closed, without looking. And she says, there, Dad, there. And of course, a moment later, there'll be a shift in the skies, and there'll be a craft that will appear, move, and then disappear. And like that, so be aware of all the different kinds of senses. So I'm going to name a few that you might not have thought of, remembering, like in sight, for example, there are many different types of sight, such as polarized light, such as seeing without the physical eye, such as heliotropism, or a sense of plants that Zenka was just speaking to. So you might actually get messages through the organic material in the planet. You might also, some of you may be able to have a sense of the visibility or invisibility of your own self, or even of beings that come around you. So think beyond the, so this is often related to our ability. Some of us, for example, you'll go in a room and people might not be even aware that you're there, and you have that natural ability. So consider the kinds of information that you're receiving. So this can be to do with luminescence or transparency, and in fact, I received a message a couple of days ago from a wonderful soul who said, I can't believe it. I've had these amorphous beings actually appear in the sky in a transparent craft, and there is absolutely no doubt. I've experienced the same thing. I've experienced that direct contact with beings who have that sense ability, if you want to call it that sense of visibility or invisibility. We also have sensitivity to, for example, infrared rays, X-rays, gamma rays. So consider right at the moment, you know, when you actually start to receive information in light form. So I get lots of different light frequencies that come through. And I was just in with a beautiful soul who asked for a sign, and I received the sign. So also consider the possibility of the kinds of partnerships you can work in. I remember working with channels some years ago, some who could hear and some who could see, and I suggested they pair up so that the ones that hear actually then are working with the ones that see. So be open to, you know, non-visible radiation of light, you know, including, for example, gamma ray. You may actually find your brain responds to that. Consider that you may be able to pick up energies through senses. so that like temperature. So you might feel suddenly a warmth or a tingling as you're starting to turn into the extraterrestrial communication. So that might be because you're actually tuning into either a planetary habitat that you're familiar with from past lives or from your own extraterrestrial family. So all of that, once you start to feel, and I'm very tuned into an electromagnetic sense, so the gravitational field. And quite often I feel, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this, you can feel shifts in the magnetic field of the planet. That's a completely different sense. And that may be because many of you are actually attuned to different magnetic fields that are not from this planet. So if you feel that sense of lightness or buoyancy, or the reverse, this deep, strong heaviness, it may mean that you're actually connecting again with extraterrestrials from a planet whose gravity is much heavier than ours or much lighter than ours. Now I can go, I've got like hundreds of these senses that I could point you to, but those are just a few that really start to where you start to question the openness and the way we've defined it in such narrow terms. So I want you to think broad, and I want you to think vast, and I want you to be really open to the power of the senses to connect you with those universal messages from the cosmos.
Beautiful. Wow. All right, let's all breathe that in. We're going to go to Trish and Zenka and Alan in a moment, but I do want to read some of the comments. So again, Altair asked a really great question. He asked, what are some of the ways that you receive messages? And I really am appreciating some of the responses that we've gotten. So I'm going to read some of those responses. Susan writes, once I asked a question while at the beach, and a whale leaped out of the water very, very close to shore. I see, there you go. That's a great example. Pamela Luz Butters is with us. I love you, Pamela. She writes, a voice that comes through with a stream of thoughts and insight I was not thinking of. Automatic writing, lucid, waking, dreamlike vision. So there's 3 examples that Pamela is providing. Bridget writes, I have traveled off planet in my multi-dimensionality, soul travel. She also writes, bird tribes messengers visit me and bring me messages of light, love, peace, and joy. Reverend Jeffrey always reminds us that we are in the flow of the divine love-evolution plan. Susan has a question, which one of you can get to in a moment. How do you know when you are traveling off planet? And Bridget writes, I've been on spaceships. When asked to see what is for my highest and best, I had my hands on the control panel of a sound frequency generator that was amplifying sound healing frequencies and directing them to war-torn areas on Earth, where light workers who were injured were put back together and healed. Whoa. Dorina Joy writes, a variety of ways, but most often during lucid dreaming, plant medicine experiences, and out-of-body multidimensional journeys. Thank you for those beautiful responses. Trish, wow, what do you think?
I think that's amazing. But I'll answer the question. How do I know? Oftentimes crows come to me. They're always around. I'll be like, oh, there you are. There's my friend. And then there's this feeling that I get. I know when I'm out of integrity, in my body, and I can just feel that resonance of being in and part of everything. Like it just feels like there's a rightness to the world. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like woven into the fabric of all existence. It just feels right.
Yeah. I just have a question for Altair, because when you're in those meetings, those deep, what is the feeling like? Are they saying it's time, we got to tell them, the jig is up? I mean, let's open the world up to free energy and higher consciousness. Or are they saying, no, we got to hold on to the secret? So what's going on?
Yeah, it's that transition. I think you've already alluded to it. It's that transition point. It's the break. It's the crack in the ceiling, if you want to put it that way. it feels exactly at that point. Most of these souls are obviously got to those positions by working through their echelons of power, are saying, you know, I'm telling it to you, to me, because they feel that trust or that ability to want to open up to that. You know, are you ready to open this up to your board or your, you know, to your governments? Or, you know, I'm ready when I hear that there are a number of other people that are ready to do that. And I say, do you realize how many people actually tell me the same thing that you're telling? And I said, that's where we need to be able to connect everybody together. So all these people are in those positions. So we're at that cracking point, Alan, really cracking point. It is so close. I mean, I give it to, I think many people have spoken about 2024 and 2025. So when I've spoken to people about what they feel, you know, those same people or what they feel the shift, they've said 2024 is the crack. They said there's going to be all sorts, you can feel it, the earth shifts, the climate changes, the economy cracks, all of that, the challenges that people, so 2024 is the crack and 2025 is the opening. So 2025 is that full reveal where the whole planet will be in no illusions anymore about the opportunity for us to be in a cosmically connected civilization. So yeah.
And let that sink in, you guys, because there are different ways to make contact. And so in 2 years, you might make contact by literally talking to someone in the physical world that has a different color of skin. Okay, so that is going to be happening very soon. The other way to make contact is talk to someone who's had past lives on other planets. Right. We all talk about our fact that, like, we're not this skin, we're not this vehicle, we've had other lives. So there's people, there's scientists, there's people like all of us on this call that identify with galactic wisdom and knowledge and experiences that we're bringing here. That's another way to make contact. The third way is to actually see a ship. And obviously the best way to do that is to go outside and look up and set the intention. And it's really easy when you do it with a group of people, 8 or more, you know what I mean? And even more. And then the fourth way is to actually raise your vibration to get the preview, right? So we're going to see this big movie. It's going to be landing here. You know, the ships have already come. People have already had meetings with them, whatever. But if you raise your vibration, you can get that dimensional interlock, right? Where you're sensing it, just like people talk to dead people. It's the same thing. It's a dimensional interlock where you might be feeling goosebumps, you might be seeing something, you might be getting a telepathy. I mean, or you might be getting physical evidence bleeding over, like we do on the radios and with our lights and all the stuff. So there's all these like ways to connect, but we need you guys as pioneers to soften this shock and be the pioneers and the explorers that you are, because this is fascinating to ask them, like, even just to ask someone who's crossed over, like, what's it like over there? What does it feel like?
You know, Zenka, I think a key is that it's a shift in reality, a shift in perception. So you mentioned new realities, which is always fascinated me. We have to perceive the nature of reality different than what we think it is. And that's the biggest transition. This is why the military is so hard. They just want to make weapons. How they, you know, it's a consciousness shift of a different orientation to reality. It's like you're standing on your side, sort of like the world is different and the power of thought is different. And Altair, I know you go into those different states and bring people there, and that's a big part of your work, but that's what the planet's going to have to know. So,
or you just wait 2 years and just you'll just be there. You know what I mean? So we're at this crack. We're at this interesting thing. Go ahead, Altair.
Well, I was just going to say, and I think it's Daran who's is that right? Have I got pronounced your name correctly? Who said that they recorded a session for galactic children, teaching them about the planet. Now, so I was just going to say, yeah, take kids with you. Take your kids out and let them also show you. You know, be open to receiving the higher vibration of the kids. So, an example I was going to give, you know, speaking to both what Alan was saying about a different consciousness, and what Zenka's been saying about raising your vibration. So at the end of the last Contact 100 that Zenka and I did, so it was a little time after this, and we'd done a review of we'd met with people afterwards, and we'd had these fabulous connections. And my daughter was standing outside our house with me, and we were talking about this, and she said, "Dada, I want to see." She had a direct contact some years ago with a golden, let's call it a golden beam, which shot past the car, and I saw it too. And it was amazing. It was almost, imagine that you're driving along in your car and a shooting star flows down out of the sky, runs alongside your car, runs in front of it, and then shoots back up into the sky again. So that's what we both saw. So she was standing outside the house, recalling that situation and saying, "Dada, I want to see that again." That was it. And then as she's talking, we both look up, because I'm always asking her this question: where are you attracted to in the sky? And she says, "I'm always attracted to there." And she points up and she says, "That's Sirius, isn't it?" And I said, yeah, that's Sirius. And I said, "What are you picking up from there?" And she said, "Well, I'm picking up that other star right next to it shouldn't be there." Now, we study the stars quite closely, so we know the star maps reasonably well. And sure enough, there was another large star about the same size as Sirius, literally right next to it. And it wasn't Sirius A and Sirius B, because it's a binary system. There was another bright star. And as she said that, that bright star began to move. And of course it shouldn't move, right? But it does, especially when it's a craft. And it started to move, and she got so excited that she yelled into the house, and she said, "Mama, come along." Now, my wife was giving a talk also to some children at that time, so she was recording it, so she couldn't actually come and join us right that very second. So this craft was moving away from Sirius. So you got to admit, here's Sirius, here's the craft moving away from it. And my wife just finishes her talk to the kids, remembering that she's left the recording on, right? So she was excited to see what my daughter, leaves the recording on, comes and rushes outside just as this craft disappears off. So my wife saw it too, and so there's three of us, right, standing there watching this craft disappear. Right at that moment, just as it flashed into, it dissolved basically into that field. Right when that happened, our whole house from top to bottom, and I've never ever heard it do that, the whole house began to hum, and not just with a tone, not just a huge hum sound, but actually the whole thing began to shake. It wasn't I mean, I live in Japan, it wasn't an earthquake. We know when it's not, but the whole house vibrated with this particular frequency. And it was so potent that all three of us standing there just went, "Whoa!" We were in astonishment, or everything in the house was actually shaking with a tone. So it wasn't no earthquake, just a pure tone. There was no, we could actually hear. It was also confined to the house, like it felt like it radiated out from the house. That particular communication came right through in that moment. My wife got such a shock that she realized she'd left the recording on, and she went back. And sure enough, at the moment that craft had appeared, you could hear in the background my daughter saying, "Mama, Mama." Right at that moment, there was actually a tone that had nothing to do with the recording she had with the children, that came across, that we recorded, that I sent to Zenka. And that tone and that frequency and that house vibration is another way of that message communicating, is another way that those civilizations particularly reach out to us. And we've been very fortunate over the years, time and time again, to have these incredible experiences happen. And so I want to share something with you that taps straight into what Alan was saying. And I think I can share screen here for a minute. And it's something I was speaking to Zenka about. I'll put it up here for a moment. Just let me know that you can you see that okay?
Yeah, we can see it
clearly. Okay. So I'm going to speak to you in terms of the evolution that Alan was speaking about spiral dynamics, right? This is that humanity is constantly evolving in a spiral way, and that we tend to start and survive when we move up through security, energy, power, order, success, community, integration, holistic energy, and then beyond that into the I am that state. So I'm going to speak to you now for a minute about how this might evolve for you in terms of ETs and extraterrestrial consciousness. So when you actually think about the power of extraterrestrial consciousness, you start to realize that we're not alone. And many authors, many writers, many speakers are speaking about this kind of new vista of knowledge that all of us are tapping into, and that is being unveiled right at the moment. So I'm going to show you how this relates to that spiral dynamics model. So at the moment, we're being prepared. Those of us who are feeling that higher vibration are actually being prepared for what's coming, and what's coming is nothing less than the prophecies of all the great traditions. So I, fortunately, through my work over the years with different luminary souls like Masaru Emoto, the water molecule man, and he put me in touch with lots of indigenous groups, and they were all speaking about the same thing, about the prophecies of the coming of this new heaven on earth, and the way that is actually a multi-dimensional reality. So it's actually time for humanity to recognize that what we're actually discovering, what many of us is discovering, and all of you who are listening to this are feeling this, right, in your body. You can feel that there's a multi-dimensional reality that's marked by freedom and unlimited possibilities. So while you're listening to me, I love to keep you on track. While you're listening to me, think, feel, sense the most unlimited possibility that you'd like. What is it in terms of ETs or in terms of your life that you'd love to have? And if it's unlimited abundance, unlimited communication with other civilization, whatever it happens to be, knowledge of my past lives, can you write that down in the chat? So write down, what is it when I say the word unlimited possibilities, what do you turn into? So it's time for us to realize that we're actually made with that evolutionary capability. And we are discovering, of course, once we broaden that consciousness, we start to discover that the universe is much bigger than what we thought. And also, and particularly with what Alan was saying, much bigger than what we're told. Because recognizing that science, with all its wonders, actually has telescopes that allow us to see, but they're only seeing an extremely small percentage of what is there in terms of the cosmos itself. So what we're realizing is, we're not alone, and that what science is calling the multiverse, that we actually have abilities to connect to those multiple dimensions through actually understanding that we need multi-dimensional senses. Now, to do that, what we start to do is we start to want to explore, and taking that spiral dynamics model, what we start to realize is, by being connected to multi-dimensions, just as all of you are, so all of you are connected to multi-dimensions, whether this is conscious or not, then we are going to be at lots of different levels of evolutionary development. I'm going to name some of them for you. And when I do that, I want you to tap into that. And again, write in the chat furiously, if you start to get downloads or connections, what kind of evolutionary development are you working with at the moment? And how does that help your community? Just as Zenka was saying, you might be able to tap into past lives. You might be able to tap into traveling on craft. You might be able to tap into a really embodied sense of a particular ET civilization. So this includes communities of cosmic origin that you're tapping into right now. So when you consider the spiral dynamics model, here's the way that you can consider it. And this goes right to what Alan was saying, is about what level are the are the leaders of our corporations, the leaders of our governments, the leaders of the rule makers, and so on, where are they at? So the very first one, the bottom part that I spoke to you about, so if you remember that spiraling model going all the way from survival up to the holistic top, if you want to look at it that way in a linear fashion, remembering that it's spiraling. So at any time you can have, and this is what our world leaders are realizing, they have a lot of knowledge. So they can be both somewhere in a community phase, but equally kind of anxious about survival. So any of the countries that are at war, have got economic problems, are suffering difficulties with climate change. Italy just today is forecasting that they might get a temperature of 48.8 degrees, and they've just issued a red alert warning. There's no more necessary signs that we need. We don't need to have conferences on whether we're in climate. We need to actually do something about all that. And that's what all these messages and downloads are about. So that's why I'm saying some of these heads of government can equally be in survival mode, but also be trying to look towards community. Okay, so survival first. If you're in survival mode, and many of you I know are not going to relate to this, but if you're in survival mode, you will see other civilizations and EBOs, or what I call exobiospheric organisms. So they're organisms that sort of have some resemblance to our own organisms, or ETs. And ETs, of course, can come in many different forms and formlessness. So some of you that are connecting with formless communications will find ETs are communicating to you in that way. Now, if you're in survival mode, you're just simply going to say, oh, they're going to kill us all. We fear it. We want to destroy it. We're going to destroy any, we're going to blast ETs out of, if they exist. And if they do exist, that's just something we want to destroy. So that would be a survival mode, right? Right at the bottom of that spiral. And then the next part of the spiral is a security mode, right? And the security mode would say, we're intelligent, we're all humans, but we need to protect our assets. Now most governments and most leaders are trying to protect their assets. So we need to protect our assets, we need to protect the earth, we need to protect the other. That would be a very security spiral, right? And you're constantly concerned about safety and security, and we need to protect ourselves, and okay, ETs, you're out there, but I'm going to protect the earth, I'm going to protect my home, I'm going to protect my family, I'm not interested, right? Security mode. The next level up is energy and power. So when you're in energy and power vibration, speaking to what Zenka was saying about raising our vibration, when you're in the dynamics of energy and power, then you're saying somewhere, subconsciously or consciously, others take my energy and power, so they will have power over me. So ETs can't be friendly. They're going to, somewhere or another, I accept they might exist, but they're just going to have some sort of power, and I'm worried about energy and power, so I'm going to conserve mine. So I'm not interested in opening up that energy and power because I'm worried about what will have power over me. So that would be an energy and power level of consciousness. And a lot of governments, a lot of scientists are in that one. Oh, we got to be more concerned about our Earth rather than being concerned about what's beyond it. Okay, the next level is order. So order is often to do with our values. Now here you're going to get, again, Alan was saying, is it most of the world? A lot of the world is going to be in the order level, and in fact, spiral dynamics would say, maybe 50% of the globe is in the level of looking at our values. So if you're in the order level right now, you're probably looking at values and saying we need to have values that sustain order on our planet. And that's quite logical, right? And that others outside our planet mightn't have those values. And therefore, I'm only going to believe the human values. And those human values might have a mix of all the spiraling levels below it, might have a mix of survival values, security values, energy and power values, right? So they're not thinking above that level, but a lot of our planet is at that level. Okay, we've got common values. We want to live together. We want to live in some kind of harmony. So there's a sense of order that brings that about, and that's often to do with rules. It might bring in scientific rationale. Okay, I accept there could be ETs out there could be other beings. And I'm not really sure because science hasn't proven it absolutely yet, right? So it could be that kind of order. I'll only believe whether the rationale is accepted right across the planet. So that might be a good 50% of the planet. Okay, then you start to go up the vibration, and the next vibrational level is success. So to do with ET, at this point, you're still not looking at ET technologies. You still don't even believe that potential might assist us, but you are saying at this point, okay, I'm willing to believe tools of success, technologies of success that have a proven track record of success. So if science or the governments reveal this, then I'll go as far as that. Okay, then I'll say, I believe that ETs exist and the tools and technologies of our time are supporting that. So that would be a success vibration. You only go as far as believing what technology actually proves and has and successfully proves. So that would be the next level. Then you go up one spiral further into community. And here's where most of us are starting to open up. And this is, even though this is a smaller percentage of the world than all the levels below it, there's still, just as Alan was saying, it's a rapidly expanding one because, and again, to what Zenka was saying, if you're talking to your friends about this and they are starting to, even just simply by bringing an awareness to your friends that this possibility exists, you're going to actually be doing something for community, because the community vibration says, I'm open to ETs. I'm open to the possibility that ETs might have feelings and might even resemble humans. And I'm particularly open to ETs that maybe want to mesh or interconnect or be with my community, whatever that community is. So you're probably going to work on the level of vibration that where you have a particular established community. So if it's a healing community, it might be that you're going to work in that sort of way with ETs from a healing civilization. Or if you're in a community of beings that love creatures, support animals, when Trish had a beautiful cat there, that maybe it's in some way that you're supporting other creatures from other planets. So that would be a community level. Then when you go to these other you raise your vibration to the next level, which is integrative. Here you're saying the universe is a complex space and that it's interconnected, and that it's interconnected with us, because of course, right now, we're actually traveling through space, as you know, we're orbiting, we're orbiting around the sun. Our whole solar system is moving through the Milky Way. The whole Milky Way is moving through the galaxy. So in fact, we already are interconnected with all of space. So the integrative approach and consciousness would say it's really important to explore that space and ETs and the consciousness of extraterrestrial civilizations is really important for me to explore. Now, you might find, especially if you're evolving at a higher vibration than that, you might find that you're actually talking to your friends at an integrative level, because they're actually starting to say, hey, it does deserve exploration, whereas you're a person who's already exploring there. And so the integrative one says it deserves exploration, and there's potentially you're reaching out at that point to ETs. So if you're at that point, and you know, I'd love you to comment on anything that you're, where the dynamic is, where the evolutionary dynamic, where your consciousness is right now. So if you're reaching out one way and you haven't received replies or messages or connections, which is perfectly powerfully okay, because we actually need our whole planet to move into the integrative exploratory point where they perceive that there is a way and that there is a possibility and they want to reach out. Because you know the same thing as I do. If you don't initiate a conversation with somebody, they might not initiate it back. So the ET civilization communities need us to be initiating that communication, that message. The next level after integrative is holistic. And many of you listening will be aware of that vibration right now as I'm starting to speak, because here you're saying ETs are part of our evolution, that they're aligned with us, that they're renewing and expanding our evolutionary capabilities, just simply by us being aware of us, of them, and them aware of us, and us opening that pathway and us starting to receive messages. So here, if you're receiving two-way communication, and if that's beginning, and you're starting to not just be aware of ETs, but you're actually starting to receive communications and messages, that's more the holistic vibration. Because here you're saying, and you're actually saying that through your body, because the key is this embodied awareness of extraterrestrial consciousness, just as Zenka and Alan and Scott and Trish and Ashma, everybody is speaking to, is that you want that to be embodied. You want that to be truly, truly woken up. That's what Awaken World is all about. You awaken the world in your body. You awaken ET consciousness in your body. And then the next step up from ETs being part of our evolution into I am that. So this is the step beyond the holistic is that the I am consciousness says, I am you, you are me. So right this moment as we're speaking, you're not separate from me. I'm not separate from you. We have exactly the same capabilities. I'm ET, ET is me, ET is that. Because I am that can't be confined to Earth. It has to be a cosmic I am. It has to be an awakened cosmos, extrapolating from the awakened world. So here, there's no separation whatsoever. You're freely receiving downloads and information from that which I am, from the I am consciousness of the entire cosmos. You're acknowledging the oneness. You're acknowledging the one love, the one tribe, the awakening world, the awakening cosmos. You truly are at that point, and you actually live it. And that vibration actually awakens our whole planet. And it's that vibration that Scott and the wonderful team here has been pointing to again and again and again over all these episodes, over all these meetings, is that we are that. We are that awakening world. And when we awaken the world, we awaken the cosmos. And that's what the world is waiting for. It's actually waiting for you. So I'll pass.
That was very beautiful. And of course, I want to hear from all of you. I'm going to bring everybody up again. There's a couple things I just want to add on to that beautiful description of the different levels of consciousness. There is no good or bad, and there's no better or worse. Okay. And so I want to speak to those of you who might be watching who maybe relate to some of the first ones that he talked about, or some of you who maybe haven't had as many mystical experiences. I believe that we are in a dream world. And I'm going to make a statement, and then I want to hear how Zenka and Altair and Alan and Trish relate to this. But I believe that we're in a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. It's very like that. And so we are all having our own personal dream. And our personal dream is influenced by so many things: our genetics, our epigenetics, our life experiences, the trauma of our lives, the big successes of our lives, our religious upbringing, our religious disillusionments. There's a lot that shapes our archetypal way of seeing the world. And we have to be sensitive and understand that there are 8 billion different pathways to awakening, to evolution, to maturing. 8 billion different ways of getting there. And it's all life wanting to experience itself as Altair, as Zenka, as Elena Joy, as Dara, as Trish. It's all existence wanting to experience everything it can imagine. And so existence is having this individual dream that you're having, you who hear my voice right now, you're having your own unique dream within a greater cosmic dream of certain group consensus reality, where group consensus reality is that there's gravity, that someone named Joe Biden is president of the United States. There's certain group consensus reality. And then we keep growing into the dream within the dream within the dream within the dream. And I just want to encourage that everyone's dream is equally sacred, equally divine, and equally life, or call it God, experiencing itself through you. And what Altair and Zenka and Alan help to do in this show is to help us open ourselves up to creating a more loving dream, a more inspirational dream, a more hopeful dream. Zenka is amazing at helping us to just stretch like, because we all are in our own dream, and our dream has certain structure only based on our own archetypal way of seeing the world, which she's helping us to lovingly expand and open, right? So that's kind of my thoughts that I want to put out there, and I'd love to hear how that resonates. I'll start with you, Zenka.
Well, so yeah, I want to tell all of you that we're collecting data right now that about people who made their dreams come true by following their passion and tuning into their intuition. So whatever dream you have, it's definitely possible. And back to this whole idea that you're talking about, Scott, of like, is this a dream and how does this work and how does the 8 billion things work? You know, Altair shared a document with me about a researcher who was working with ETs 10 years ago. And if it's okay with Altair, I'd like to read the last 2 paragraphs, because like I explained to you, you know, we're in an anthropological leap forward, right? So all of a sudden, everything is leaping forward, which our understanding of energy medicine, our understanding of what we're capable of, our rocket designs and like the ability to actually go into space, all the stuff is leaping forward. And when I read this last 2 paragraphs, it talked about a leap in my understanding about the way that this world operates. It's not something new. All of us have had this idea of unity and we're all connected, but to hear it from another perspective, it's like listening to the other angle of it. And so let me read it for you, because I want you to think about this as a concept. So EBOs believe that the soul is not an extension of an individual, but rather a fundamental characteristic of nature that expresses itself as a field, not unlike gravity. In the presence of life, this field acquires complexity, resulting in negative entropy, if that makes sense. So it's becoming less disintegrated, less disorganized as the complexity rises. We're in a very heightened complexity right now. So the gain in complexity is directly correlated with the concentration of living organism in a given location. So with time and the right conditions, life in turns become more complex and the appearance of sentient life. After reaching this threshold, the field begins to express itself through these sentient beings, forming what we call the soul. Through their experiences, sentient beings in turn influence the field in a sort of positive feedback loop by making our dreams come true, right? This in turn further accelerates the complexity of the field, and eventually when the field reaches a critical mass, there will be a sort of an apotheosis, I think I'm saying that right. It's like where we transcend, right? It's not clear what that means in practical terms, but this quest for apotheosis, maybe that's how you say it, seems to be the EBO's main motivation. The author of the document added that reflections and integrations as an appendix. He specified that for them, the soul field is not a belief, but an obvious truth. He argues that the soul loses its individuality after death, but the memories and experiences persist as part of the field. This fact would influence the philosophy and culture of EBOs, resulting in a society that does not fear death, but also places no importance or reverence on individuality. This belief compels them to seed life, shape it, nurture it, and monitor it, and influence the ultimate purpose of creating apotheoses. So whether we agree with that or not, it's a very interesting concept. We think of our soul as being attached to me, Zenka, or Altair or Scott. But what if our soul is this collective soup? And what if by being like Scott is a very positive human, and the music that you guys play on the show is very positive, it's very uplifting. So what if as we do these things, like what if we're always thinking about how we uplift? And what if that creates this transcendent? What would this transcendence?
Yeah. I have something just to add about that. What you said, Scott, and Zenka and Altair, we are at a threshold where we've reached a level of human experience. It's sort of like complexity theory, what Zenka was saying. And when that when the field reaches its capacity, two things can happen. It either breaks down totally, or a more complex layer that's been in place underneath rises to increase the field of experience. Human beings are now at a transformational point where we've learned how to be humans, at least some of them. There's still awful things happening in the world, but the power of new experiences are coming online to expand human potential, human creativity, art, science, and compassion. This is the moment that we're at. This is what the ETs, whatever they are, represent: the power of human potential to go to the next level, into the unknown, into the uncertain, into the unmarked waters of adventure, of higher realities, more complexity. And that's the excitement that we're at now. All of us here on the show, here on planet Earth, here, those having visions. It is really a stupendous moment in human history. And it's probably the most exciting. So.
And when you
Exact-
guys talk about these experiences you're having, like when we talked about when do you see ETs, it's like seeing the crow, experiencing the synchronicity. We all know that something strange is going on because there are these synchronicities that are happening with our environment and in our lives. That's that order that's happening, that like we're all contributing to this more harmonious, magical, synchronized thing that we're all creating together.
Yes, we're going into the liminal space, the space between realities, the space where nothing is certain. It's what scientists predicted 100 years ago, the quantum physics. If the observer affects reality, what if everyone knew that and they were affecting reality and starting to merge into their new worlds because something is calling us? The unknown is calling us to rise to the occasion, to be these super multidimensional beings that we really are. So when I teach remote viewing for Zenka's LightNet, I've taught 32 weeks of it by now, Zenka. People realize that their consciousness is non-local. How is that even possible? But they're doing it. They're seeing blue blindfolds there. She has a levitation course going on. I haven't done that yet. But anyway, something miraculous is happening to human beings. And it's really a lot of fun, Scott. It really is.
Yeah, and this is the dream of heaven. You talk about the dream, Scott. This is the dream of heaven. We all have some sort of a heaven in our head. And that is the dream. And it's starting to fall into place little by little as we heal ourselves. Like the dream, like what we're creating is getting better.
It is. The world is getting better. We are moving into new realities of greater. It's a chance we can all live the best life possible. Imagine these ETs are not filling up their gas tank to get here, whatever's in the sky. They're using a technology that doesn't enslave us to the fossil fuel systems. And so that's freedom. It's freedom to be the creators in creation as alive in beings. We're incarnate to create, and with the possibility of free energy and a utopian vision. I know it's utopian, but you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, you know? So someday, what's happening, that someday is now, and we are the people. So,
and I invite you guys to use the inner outer philosophy that we have. Like we know our inner world can create the outer world, all those things. So when we look at the ETs, you know, I saw in the chat, like some ETs are bad and like whatever. That or some ETs have dissected, you know, humans, and so we've dissected them too, and like we've dissected each other, and you know what I mean, in Nazi Germany, like so. However good we are, or if you can even use that word, is what we'll see reflected in them as well. So as we evolve, they evolve, and then they evolve, we evolve. So it may be that there are some people that these ETs that are still acting in selfish ways, but there's some of us that are still acting in selfish ways here on Earth. So again, it could be a mirror thing that happens. I don't know, maybe not.
No, it is, Zenka, because when military go to places like Skinwalker Ranch and they're looking for weapons and how we're going to use this ET technology, they get very negative experiences. When people go there with love and possibilities, there's a lot of healing that goes on in interaction with these orbs and these ETs being, so they are amplifying the reflection of consciousness. And that's why that's obvious in the vibrational shift of the planet right now. It's amplifying whatever you are. It's bringing out the positive more and it's bringing out the negative more. And you could just see that in people around you, either having a great day or having an awful day. So
yeah, same in regular life. You know what I mean?
But it's amplifying. We are in transformation, transition, awakening, whatever you want to call it.
To show us something. It's trying to show us. All this is trying to show us something. And what is it? Maybe it's
ourselves, Zenka. It's our, we really are.
love, like Scott said, it's all about love, coach.
Yeah, exactly. It is, just as Scott said, and as you're all pointing to, it is the dream within the dream within the dream. And here, right this moment, you have the opportunity to do exactly what Eleanor Joy just said. Where your attention goes, energy flows, right? So I'm just going to invite you just for a moment to put down in the chat, again, if you go back to that unlimited possibility, like we literally are the dream within the dream within the dream. So if you expand that dream, just to make this very practical, consider a connection that you would like to have. So Scott kind of alluded to this before. Some of you might feel you haven't had connection, some might. So consider and just write down, because something happens when you actually write this down. So I'm going to do this connection with the Pleiadian civilization because I've had that connection since I was a small boy. And it always arises for me in terms of a silver light will actually appear both in my consciousness and in the room. And what I want you to do is to suspend all limitations. So you're going to, anything where you've thought that you couldn't actually do this, I want you to actually, so write it down on a piece of paper or write it in the chat or do both. Because once, again, speaking to what Eleanor was saying, where your attention goes, your energy is going to start to flow that way, even as we're speaking. And I'm just going to give you a simple breath to do. And then I'm going to encourage you throughout your day, first thing when you get up, before you drink your cup of tea, before you sit down and open your emails, before you connect with your next friend, before you go out your door, before you start your car, when you're sitting in the car, whatever it happens to be, that you do this one simple breath for 24 hours, the next 24 hours, and then write into Scott and the Awakening World and Zenka and LightNet and let it, and to Alan and all the things that we're doing, write to any one of us and tell us what you experience in the next 24 hours by simply bringing your attention into that flow. So right now I'm going to connect with the Pleiadian energies and I'm going to guide you. So I'm going to do a 3-breath feeling of this. And I'll describe it conceptually first. You're going to actually breathe in the light of that civilization. Without you knowing, you don't have to go to where you think that might be. You're just going to trust. You're going to trust the collective here, that all of us are tuned into, exactly as Scott said, the dream within the dream within the dream. In other words, in that vast dream of consciousness is actually that unlimited potential for you to connect to, in my case, the Pleiadian download, the Pleiadian message, the Pleiadian power, or the Pleiadian consciousness. And you're going to take in a breath. So we're going to do it 3 times. You're going to take in a breath, that light, and you're going to hold it. So for just a few moments, you're going to hold that breath and saturate your body from head to toe. So I'm going to guide you really swiftly. I'm going to say, saturate your crown, throat, fingers, down to your belly, into your toes, right? You're going to saturate your whole being with that consciousness. And then you're going to radiate that consciousness out to all of us instantaneously, because we're all going to pick it up. In other words, each one of you is actually supporting each one of us in this collective awakening world that we're present to right this moment. So you're going to do that breath 3 times, right? So you've got it, you've named whatever consciousness it is that you want to tune into. And it might be a more, it might be you might relate to the Pleiadian energy, which I'm connected to, as unconditional love. So now write down that second quality, write down the actual feeling quality that you associate with the Altairians or the Vegans or the Pleiadians or whatever it is that you're connecting in, the Syrian binary system, whatever it happens to be. write down the quality now, because now you're starting to turn in deeper and deeper, into that spiral connection I was talking about. We're working at that I am level. We're just working at the I am the consciousness of whatever the civilization is that's not separate from you. And I am this quality of love, or what. So now we're starting to tap into the feeling of it. And then we're going to do this 3 breath, breathing in it, saturating our body with it, and breathing out to everybody. All right, here we go. So you've named the consciousness, and you've also named the quality associated with it. So now you're just going to rest back, and just for a moment, you're going to be open to the possibility that that infinite consciousness is you, that it's not separate from you, and that you are unlimited in that consciousness. And you just start to breathe. At the moment, we're just taking a gentle breath, and you're just settling into it. You might settle into this consciousness in your toes, sort of feeling each toe, feel the power of this connection on the floor. So you're actually grounding it first through this earth, and then feeling into your fingers and your hands and palms. So feel into the spaciousness in your hands and palms. And then feel into the energy in your crown, and especially the energy as it flows up into the heavens, just as Zenka was saying. You're connecting now with that heavenly consciousness of whatever you're tuning into. So I'm tuning into the Pleiadian, the vast Pleiadian consciousness, and the power of unconditional love. And as you tune into that, now we're going to do the 3 breaths. And we're going to get it so simple that it just becomes 1 breath that you can do multiple times during your day. So here's the first breath. You're going to breathe in the light of that consciousness up through, so you can actually feel it, see it, or sense it, or feel like buzzing, vibration, tingling light as it flows into your body. You feel it flow in. Hold the breath for a moment as you saturate all the way from the crown, behind your eyes, behind your teeth, behind your ears, down your throat, heart, down your arms into your palms, down your belly, down into your sacral root, right down your thighs into your feet. Hold it for a moment. Now, exhale and radiate out the quality. So in this case, I'm exhaling out that quality of that unconditional love to each one of you, every single one on this call, every single being that's tapping into Facebook. You're radiating that light or love or peace or whatever the quality is. Now we're going to do it a second time. You're inhaling that same exquisite light of that boundless consciousness. As you breathe in, you fill your whole being, you're saturating your body with the light of that consciousness, into the crown, behind your eyes, down your throat, down your arms, into your palms, heart, navel, sacral root, right down and into your feet. Hold it in there for a moment, saturate right out to your skin now. Your skin's vibrating with it. And as you exhale, you're radiating that quality as if now not only the inner body, but the skin and around the skin is vibrating out to us this unconditional love or peace or equanimity or boundlessness or miracles or whatever it happens to be. Now the 3rd breath. Now you inhale the light of that consciousness for a 3rd time. So now you're really attuned to it. You're inhaling it. You hold your breath for a moment. Feel the power of that consciousness saturating your crown, right down, 3rd eye, throat, heart, down the arms, palms, down into the navel, down to the sacral root, down your legs into your feet. Hold it. And now radiate that out beyond your skin, beyond your room. So I've got a beautiful light of consciousness as it floods you, floods each one of us, out to our families, out to our friends, out to our neighborhood. Keep going. Just let that breath of the light of that consciousness, whatever that is, unconditional love, peace, equanimity, it's flowing out into the world, beyond the world, into the stars, saturating every star system, every galaxy, every civilization, every dimension, every world, every parallel world, all past lives, all future lives, all bodhisattvas, all angelic beings, all of them are picking up your light. All of them are responding to your message of unconditional love or peace or equanimity or light. All of them are responding right now. So you might be filled with emotion. I've got little tears in my eyes because I can feel the light and the vibration, the beauty of each one of you simultaneously sharing that with me. So just rest in that vast silence, stillness, and spaciousness of the power of that quality that you've awakened through your light and through the assistance of the light of the consciousness of that civilization. And then slowly, so here's the litmus test. You're going to slowly open your eyes. And as you slowly open your eyes, place your hand on the part of where you feel that light radiating from. So mine's my heart, so I can kind of place. And with your eyes open, do exactly the same thing, because often bringing this into our world is where some of us stumble a little, because we want to bring this consciously in our connections with our family when we're speaking. So now you're going to bring that in with eyes open. So again, you're going to inhale the light of that consciousness. Hold it for a moment. Saturate your entire body, crown, third eye, throat, down your arms into your palms, heart, navel, sacral, root, down to your feet. Feel your whole body vibrating with that enlightened, awakened world consciousness, and then shine it out to each one of us, to the whole planet, to all worlds beyond all worlds, to the dream within the dream within the dream that touches all dreamers on every multidimensional level. And just rest in that now, in the limitless and the boundlessness of your unconditional love. So you are truly now radiating the awakened world to become the awakened cosmos. And you can feel it now. You're actually feeling, maybe you're receiving messages right now. I'd like you to just share in the chat by just doing that simple breath 3 times or 4 times. Now you can bring this breath anytime. And I suggest you do it first thing in the morning, last thing at night. When you sit in your car and you're about to drive somewhere, just stop and do that one breath. Just breathe in the light of that infinite consciousness that you now know. Saturate your body and radiate it out to the planet. Do it often and often and often and often. And people will ask you without you saying anything, what's happening? Where I feel this vibration. I was sitting, Alan, I'll tell you a funny wee story. Alan was asking me, what's the reaction, of these leaders? So I was sitting with a leader in Europe, and that particular person said, we sat down to very lavish lunch in a beautiful palatial place, much like Scott's beautiful room. And that wonderful person said to me, I don't know what's happening, but I can feel this energy and it's present everywhere. And I don't feel it. But when I sat down for lunch with you, I feel it. Is that you? And I said, no, it's us. So us being the greater we. But so Scott, I'm going to pass back to you on that note. Please, sending you love and gorgeousness and light through Scott's beautiful presence. I just feel absolutely honored and blessed to be here with Scott, with you and Ashima and Trish and Zenka and Alan and everybody else. It's what a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to share in the awakened world.
Well, thank you very much. That's a really powerful practice. And I encourage people, I'll put the recording of this video on Facebook into the chat box. You can save it. And we can go back and, go through that process again that Altair just took us through. John Martin has joined us. When I realized what was happening, honestly, we were talking about people who at a higher consciousness can just ask to see and choose to see, and they see the ships. Well, John Martin he's my hero. I mean, this man is at such a high level of consciousness, and we've hit him on the show many times. You've seen the videos of him playing guitar and looking at the ships. And so I frantically wrote to him, John, if you see this, come join us. And here he is. So welcome, John. I'm so glad to have you with us tonight.
Thanks, Scott. I was outside interacting with our star family when I got your note. So it's such a pleasure to be here. And was deeply moved by the breath work. I've done that just naturally my whole life. I would breathe in positive thoughts and then breathe out negative thoughts. And I've always done that, but to bring in the star families is something that I will put into my daily practice. So thank you very much for that.
John, I was just saying, John is a great example of what Altair was talking about, putting out the love frequency. He sees them, he photographs them, he interacts with them. You're going to love this, Altair. Go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know if Altair and John have met before, but John
Not.
recorded what, hundreds of videos at this point. Would that be accurate, John?
Individual, probably thousands, but I've got hundreds of compilations, and it's something we all can do. And I just felt compelled to share my story and the reality that we all can do it. And share what you love, introduce yourself to the universe, and go out and share what's important to you. I go out and we speak about what's going on in my life. And, I've had many health challenges recently, and I'm perfectly well now. And I'm so thankful for everyone that has prayed for me. And I feel wonderful, and I'm excited about the book coming out. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to be here, Scott. And thank you for having me.
Well, absolutely. And Sean has been telling me about this book. He's been mentioning it on our show, and it's available. The Universe Loves You, My Personal History and Your Guide to Making Positive and Meaningful Contact with Our Star Family. Available on Amazon. I'm going to put the link into the chat box. And I just really want to encourage everybody to get this book. And you can buy it for others. You can get it on Kindle. You can read it on different devices. And John, congratulations. You've given birth.
Thank you, Scott. It's such a pleasure. And I kind of go through my own history on how I got to the point where I felt comfortable to interact with our star family. I had dinner with President Carter in Spain, and he spoke about UFOs, and I shared my experience with him. And I took that experience, which was so lovely, and then Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where music was used as a communication tool. And I decided to go out on my deck, and I started performing this classical music that I've played all my life. And at the same time, I wrapped the experience in love, and I sent it deep into the universe. And almost immediately, the craft started coming in, a beautiful purple plasma craft with a pink ring around the bottom third of the bell came over my home, and 4 beautiful craft came. And then the really big ones came, the cross and crescent metallic craft that came over my home. And I was about to try to take their picture. And in my mind, they said, please don't take our picture. We'll give you something you can take a picture of. And a few days later, a beautiful heart-shaped cloud appeared right where they were in my courtyard. And that's on the cover of my book. And so I go into all the details on those experiences and the many thousands that I've had since. And I encourage everybody to read it and integrate it and try for themselves, because it's a beautiful and lovely experience. And I think it can elevate mankind and take us to a more beautiful and balanced world. And that was the impetus for me to write the book.
Thank you, John. And people are asking to see your videos, so we will do that before the end of the show. We will show some of John's videos. You can see the craft and hear him playing his beautiful music. Now, I also want to let everybody know that Zenka and Altair have put together Contact 250. I personally participated in Contact 100, but like the universe is expanding, our consciousness is expanding. This is the awakening world. We get bigger and bigger. So we are now going from Contact 100 to Contact 250. Zenka, tell us about it.
Yeah, and yeah, maybe you can share screen. So this is a chance where we straddle 2 weekends. So the first weekend, you get your birth chart and you look at what energies were present when you were born. So this is, again, like maybe you don't know to call in the Octurians or the Palladians, right? So we help you do that. This is just lightnet.org. On the homepage, you'll be able to click through. And then you're going to go through hours and hours. So from 6 to 10 at night, every night from Friday and Saturday and on to the next weekend, you're going to be experiencing stuff in your body. You're going to be looking out to the stars. I mean, we got a lot of feedback. on this experience of just how life-changing it was. And it's so fun to be with other people who are also in it with you. And so, yeah, you walk out with a lot of different tools, just like we just did right now that Altair did. And it's amazing.
It is. I love doing it with you, Zenka. And John, I just wanted to say what an honor to meet you. I feel really blessed by your company here. So thank you. And to all John, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for your great inspired work as well. I look forward to learning much more about your work. It's so lovely.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So, and just a little bit about Contact 250, John, we'd love to have you in Sedona. So we are going to be doing it online, so anyone from around the world can get on. You'll have the archives forever, all the tools, but you can also come to Sedona. And Altair is going to be coming to Sedona. He's bringing a bunch of his amazing friends as well. So for that second weekend, you can experience it in Sedona with all of us together or online, but it's going to be quite the gathering, and I think we're going to get quite the results. So
it will be fantastic.
Put it in my channel. I'm going to do my. We're getting on. So someone.
So then.
Oh, sorry, I muted you accidentally, Zenka. You got to unmute.
Okay, I mean, we talk about the dream within a dream. We talk about healing people with 8 people, the power of 8. Can you imagine 250 people serenading our galactic friends at the same time? It gets pretty powerful. It gets pretty powerful. The energy really lifts you. It's really, yeah.
So I just the date.
Yeah, so it starts September 21st and it runs through September 29th. So yeah, so it's the end of September. Yep.
There it is. And then there's full schedule. For those of you watching on, I think it's something about Zenka. When I'm talking, we're getting an echo, so I muted you. So for those of you who are watching on Facebook, go to lightnet.org/Sedona 250. lightnet.org/Sedona 250. And that's where you can get all of the details about this. It's going to be amazing. I just put in my calendar, I'm going to be there or do my very best to be there. I had such a great time when I was with Zenka for a week in March. So September is a great time of year to be in Sedona. The weather is perfect at that time. It's not too hot. It's beginning to cool off a little bit. We still might get the mid-afternoon thunderstorms, which are really cool. I want to go to Alan Steinfeld again. Alan, would you like to play that 3-minute clip of our friend, the whistleblower?
Yes, well, there's 2 I can play. There's one with Gary Nolan, which was the first bombshell that went off in May. And he was preparing us for the next bombshell. So let me just pull that up. I wasn't sure you're going to call on me there. But 1 second. And Gary Nolan is a scientist. He's an immunologist. He works with people. He works with government looking at people's brains who have been contactees. So let's see. This is from the SALT talks, which was a big. You've seen this, right, Altair? This was a great moment in UFO history when this interviewer said to him,
"I'm curious. Do you believe that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited planet Earth?" I think you can go a step further. It hasn't just visited, it's been here a long time and it's still here. And it has basically, people talk about the wow signal, looking for extraterrestrial intelligence. The wow signal is that people see it on an almost regular basis. That's the communication that's already here.
That's pretty amazing, right? Well, he follows that up. The interviewer talking about the nature of reality. this interviewer had such a hard time cognizing what Gary Nolan has just said. So he follows it up with this question here. One more time. Follows it up with this. Let me optimize sound. Sorry, it wasn't optimized last time. Okay, here it goes. Here it goes.
And that statement seems so incredible that it's tough to believe, right? Like, people hear that, and maybe a lot of people here hear that, and they don't believe it.
Like this.
And so I'm curious, if you had to assign a probability to that statement, that you believe extraterrestrial intelligence has visited this planet, what probability would you assign?
100%. And that's not just my opinion. I mean, look, the National Defense Appropriation Act, passed last year, signed by Biden in December. 30 pages of that is the establishment of an unidentified aerial phenomenon office, the establishment of looking into the harm that's happened to any of a number of the individuals, going back to 1945 and looking at the disinformation and misinformation that has been basically articulated over the decades. 12 US senators have signed on to a document that basically says we want the information. The establishment of an office, ARROW, in the Department of Defense, has 25 people working in it right now. And what's their goal? Collecting the information across all of the U.S. Department of Defense intelligence offices, and collation of that into a uniform format for the very first time, and provision of that then to Congress, the creation of a whistleblowers program specifically that allows people from within, who, I'm going to say this, who've been working on the reverse engineering programs, reverse engineering of objects, so that they can come in and break their oaths, but it's specifically just to talk to Congress and give that information in classified settings. And that the most recent one that happened was just last weekend, and it created quite a hornet's nest in Washington.
Right. And do you want to see a little bit of that hornet's nest? Because that hornet's nest.
Absolutely. This is really valuable.
This is revelation. This is disclosure. This is what we've been waiting for. This guy, let me pull it up on my screen again. This guy, David Grush, he's an intelligence officer, and he blew the whistle really loud. Grush, let me see. Do you see that on your screen? Do you see that on your screen now?
Yeah, although you've got to close some of your programs because there's a lot of blockchain.
Okay.
So do you know how to do it as an advanced?
Yeah, you told me that last time. I could do that as an advanced. What do I do? I go to screen share.
Go to screen share. Go to advanced.
Okay.
Pick the video. It's got to be on your desktop.
Okay, it has to be on my desktop. Okay. Has to be on my desktop. I'm sorry to take up time because I know but this is the thing that hold the, like the wizard behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz, and suddenly like something. Let me just do it the other. It takes too long to do it that way. Let me just do it this way. And yeah, 1 second. Okay. I just have to pull it up again. Sorry. All right. Okay. Wait, I just want to ask, Altair, what did you think of Gary Nolan's work there?
Yeah, I love Gary Nolan. He's been straight to the point every time that I've heard him, because for those of you that don't know, Dr. Gary Nolan is the Stanford University School of Medicine professor who has spoken about this many times, about the fact that 100% aliens have already arrived, 100%. He speaks about those on the SALT connections and government disclosure, and with a lot of clarity. So exactly, it's been my experience too. The direct experiences I've had, like John, like Gary, like many of us here, have proven to me even 30 years ago when I had the first of those experiences, that to this day I've never seen the technologies that I witnessed, and those particular experiences, which were direct, were speaking to, much like John, the power of the communications that we have, and that we're being sent more and more and more direct examples of the fact that this is prevalent and 100% here and present on our planet. Yeah, I'm
prevalent
100%.
Prevalent and covered up by those on the inside that don't want the public to know this. This is why it's a whistleblower. He's blowing the whistle on inside government people who have kept this from Congress, the president, and the American people.
David Grush, an Air Force veteran, former member of that task force, and veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, is formally blowing the whistle on secrets he says no one has ever shared publicly before.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
So that's part of the cover-up. He goes on to say, that's Ross Kotar. He's an Australian reporter. I'm sure you know him, Altair. He's a great researcher. So Grush goes on to say, not only do we have craft, but we have bodies. And there's a big cover-up campaign that's been going on for 75 years, but people inside these programs like the UFA task force who have seen and worked on reverse engineering are coming forward. They're breaking ranks. They're going against the authorities that are trying to suppress them. And this is the internal struggle with inside the US government that's just going to crack the whole thing open. The more it's suppressed, the more people come out. What they say in macrobiotics, the bigger the front, the bigger the back, the bigger the lie, the bigger it is that what they're lying about. And this is so big, most people can't fathom it. Wouldn't you say, Altair?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, from my own personal experience, when I experienced the arrival of the craft in the 90s, and the US followed up with a complete investigation of the town that I was in at the time in New Zealand. And they tested people in the city. They offered rewards. None of that information was published. And then all information subsequent to that was blocked. If you go now, I was there along with 40 other witnesses. It was in all the newspapers and television at that time in New Zealand. Subsequent to that's blocked. If you actually go back and try and find it, you actually can't find the information. And I've run the Coast Guard, the USF, the police, I've gone right through to see. I said, what happened to all that information that was actually even in the news? I said, I've still got the newspaper cuttings from my mum's scrapbook. It's so funny, really simple things like that. I said, I witnessed that craft. So did everybody else that was there. Where's all the, they said it's classified. I said, you mean it's been deleted or removed or archived in places that nobody can actually get? I wrote to the libraries, the police files. So I've contacted the police. I've contacted the New Zealand Coast Guard. I said, there was an event. And they said, oh, we can't find any record of that in that, at that particular time. I said, but I've got the record right here in front of me. And they said, oh, clearly it must have been, something's happened to her. We can't disclose anything. So when they realized I knew, because was actually there when that craft appeared. And that same cover-up happened. That's exactly the same, because it was such a big event and it was seen by so many people. So yeah, I'm 100% certain that that we have that technology and we have that information and those craft and those beings. Absolutely.
Right. So one of the people that's been covering up this guy is finally coming forward. He's breaking rank. He's saying, guess what? We have been lying. We've been lied to. I have one more minute. I want to show you at the second part of that testimony, Scott.
Go for it. Yep, go for it, Alan.
Okay, great. This is sort of the show I wanted to do with you in a couple of weeks, but we'll do it now. So that's no problem. All right. There's a little more of Grush there. And he says,
if you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the US populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
So I've got to be blunt about this. You're not making this up. This is not a lie.
No, absolutely not.
Because everybody watching this right now is looking at your face. They're going, is this guy for real?
I am for real. And I'm sitting here at great personal risk and obvious professional risk by talking to you today.
exactly. That is blown whistle, bombshell, boom. That changes the landscape. What do you think of that, Scott?
It is incredible. And it is great to have somebody incredible coming forward.
Yeah. And, you know, he is an intelligence officer. His job was to find out what's his job was to find out what's going on inside government. They wanted him to be part of the cover up, but he said, no, something immoral is happening here. I'm coming out. And he has protection now by Congress, and they're going to have hearings, hopefully in a couple of weeks, where he will testify in front of Congress and maybe in front of the American people. This is a game changer. We've known about this, the work of Altair and Zenka, everything. John, we're the avant-garde, but now the rear guard is catching up with what's the true reality, and we're coming into a new world, and welcome to it. The awakened world. That's part of it. So Altair, what do you know about this guy, this intelligence officer?
Yeah, so this is it. You notice he said that the interviewer said decades of information cover up, decades. That's exactly what I experienced. Now, remember, my experience was back in the early 90s, and it's been covered up since then. It was such clear, documented evidence. I was witness because I was there, not just for the craft, but for all the investigation that the US government, the scientists and investigators did. They flew to US Air Force jets into Christchurch in that year, and they report for an entire week. They were in that town. That was Sumner, Christchurch, where I was. And that entire episode was covered up, not revealed, not reported on. None of their investigations were made public because it was such a clear and obvious and direct, not only sighting, but contact. And none of that was ever revealed. So what he is saying is exactly what the governments have known. And he said it, and the interviewer said it. Decades.
It's changing. That testimony is changing everything inside. You get Marco Rubio, you get Kristen Gillibrand. These are major congressional senator players, and they're saying, what? You mean our own Pentagon has been lying to us? How could this be going on? And guess what? I don't know why the mainstream is not picking it up, but they're going to. And it's really a constitutional issue. Like I said before, forget about aliens. This is an internal government struggle between the military and the executive and legislative branch. It's, it's going to be a confrontation if this can come out, if it's not suppressed. But we're at the verge of something new, and I think the stars are pointing that way, aren't they, Altair? The alignments, the Aquarius and the Pluto coming back into Aquarius at the end of this.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
Pluto's transit is actually what this is really pointing to.
Yeah.
Currently, cosmically, we have a direct connection to the uncovering of truth, and it's all about trust. I mean, if you ask people who do they trust more, and if the government is on that list, fundamentally there's such division on our planet in respect of governments, because we expect people to be transparent. I mean, that's what trust is built on. Trust is built on love and connections. And if we don't have that, at our source, then we've lost the plot.
But you know what I think
I
is,
understand.
go ahead. No, I just want to say, go ahead, Zenka, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, it's my understanding that these guys are starting to organize and stand up together. So literally one person is going to go, then the next person's going to go, and the next person's going to go, because there's safety in numbers. And that's the thing that's starting to happen right now. It's not just some wacky guy that's like, oh, this happened and my back. These are credible people that have had careers, current careers, or are retired from the military, from government, from the scientific community. So this is a sea change. This is different than it was before. And I invite us all to look at this, like, once we get over the brouhaha of all this, looking at the other side and what the opportunities are. And, we've all been dishonest in our life, and we've all hidden information in our life. But the point is that when a US president or a president from Canada or from Europe or whatever acknowledges that they have been here, and they have been here for decades, then we start to get into the post-disclosure world. Right. And the post-disclosure world has a lot of cool things. Imagine if it was on the table that they've been here and are here. Imagine what kind of commerce, imagine what kind of cultural exchange, imagine what kind of technology is going to be happening. Imagine. And this is why a galactic renaissance is happening right now. And you guys are a part of it. Right. You guys are a part of it.
I just want to say one more thing. I think it's happening now because the vibration is shifting, but I think our galactic community is saying, okay, game over. They're putting pressure on those inside the ET connection to the government, say either you tell them or we tell them. And they're kind of fudging, and there's these people coming forward, leaking through the dam of denials and saying, okay, it is time to join the galactic community. Game up. And that will change. As Zenka said, it is a renaissance that is coming. And it's great for everyone, maybe not the corporations who want to hold on to power, but 99% of the human race is saying, yes, it's time. We are part of a bigger world, a bigger reality. It is an awakening world, Scott. It's time. It's here.
Absolutely. I want to give a brief historical context here. And I'm going to draw upon my experience. Many of you know, and some of you don't, that for many years, I made my living producing television that was nationally broadcast. And a lot of what I did was UFO oriented. There was a show called The Paranormal Borderline. It was a time series on UP. I was in charge of all the UFO stories. This was back in 1996, 1997. I had a big budget and traveled all over and did stories. And I'm just going to show one piece of that. There was a gentleman named Frank Kaufman, who was the head of the CDC, which was the forerunner to the CIA. And he was stationed in Roswell, New Mexico. Why? Because Roswell, New Mexico had the only atomic bomb squadron in the world. This is 1947. The Cold War is really ramping up. We've just come out of World War II, and the United States used the atomic bomb to end the war with Japan. And so atomic power and atomic bomb was an enormous advantage that the United States had. And there's a movie coming out in a few weeks called Oppenheimer, which is all about that, which is a whole other story. So Frank Kaufman is in charge of the whole security in Roswell because there were Russian spies trying to get in there, trying to find out whatever they could. And the only atomic bomb squadron was in Roswell. On July 2nd, 1947, there was a lightning strike, a UFO was hit, and it went down. And the first thought was it was a Russian spy plane. So Frank, along with other key people, went out there, and of course what they discovered was it was a UFO. There were 5 beings that had been on the craft. 4 of them had died, 1 of them survived. I was fortunate to do the interview with Frank Kaufman. This was our opening story for another show I worked on called Strange Universe. I'm sure many of you watched Strange Universe. This was our big opening night story. And it took 3 years of me corresponding with Frank before he was willing to tell his story. Now, the reason I'm bringing all this up is this. Frank verified that back in his day, back in the 40s and 50s, if you had information and you said a word, you disappeared. And anybody you shared that information with disappeared, including your family. And so there was an incredible tight-knit secrecy. Then in the 70s, it began to relax a teeny bit. In the 80s, relaxed more. And then finally in the 90s, Frank saw some of his cohorts like Robert Dean and Gordon Cooper sharing their knowledge, and they weren't getting punished. They weren't disappearing. And that's what gave him the courage to come out and tell his story. Now, one of the things that I interviewed during that time, there's many years I was doing those shows, 8 former astronauts and 30 former military officials. And the general consensus was that what had happened was the government was not going to release the information, but they would not stop a few people from speaking to kind of alternative media so that we could start preparing the way for people. Somebody in the chat box wrote about the Vatican. Absolutely. The Vatican is the primary reason that this information has not come out, because the Vatican has a lot of power, and the Vatican is who would be most hurt by the impact of this information. And we are now at that point, like you all are saying, where there is a big struggle going on within the system on one level, and on the other level, our humanity has to wake up. And what bigger consciousness awakening will there be than finally accepting we are part of a much larger picture, a much larger civilization, and hopefully humanity on the whole, enough of a majority will say, yes, we're willing to bring this into our personal dream. We're willing to accept and know this and receive it. And we're willing to change the prime directive so our galactic family can come in and help us, because we fucked up this planet. We've messed it up. And right now we're on an unsustainable path with our environment and with our technology, and we need help. And hopefully I'm not in a Deus Ex Machina thing here that the gods are going to save us, but we have to raise our consciousness to be open to receive that support. So I just wanted to kind of present that timeline as I've seen it. I'm not saying this is the absolute truth. It's the truth according to Scott's experience. And I'm going to bring our experts back on to hear, how that goes along with your.
Scott, that's really important what you just said. That's a great context, and things are accelerating. That's why we're gathering here. That's why we're talking about it. That's why I wrote my book, Making Contact. But this is the moment of change. And it's, like I said before, it's really exciting. And people like John Martin are taking daily contact interfacing with this, and Altair and the gathering in Sedona with 250 people, and everything Zenka's doing at LightNet. She has 10 different types of modalities making contact for 8 weeks at a time LightNet.org. Go there. It's really, it is the culture of contact really that we're emerging into. That's what I have to say. Some of it.
Yeah, and the government, doesn't know everything. They're only as good as the amount of money and people they threw at this. But now we have a chance to come together as loving humans, not in a military context, to actually interface with these beings in a whole nother level and share information and know-how. So, Altair shares a lot of information on how to do this, how to make contact, and you're going to share information that you have with all the other people and with what you learn from Altair. It's literally like a domino effect, because we're safer when we have that intelligence from the future, from these more evolved beings. Like, it's like having a professor friend that you get to talk to, or even if you don't even agree with these, them, you get to learn something. And so there's a learning curve that's happening, and it's such a gift to us. And you guys are so lucky, each and every one of you, to be able to experience this right now, because it's going to be very fun.
I just want to say one thing. This is a people's movement. We cannot wait for government, just like Martin Luther King didn't wait for government to change the laws. It was up to the people. They didn't want to stop the Vietnam War until people took to the streets. Maybe we have to take to the streets, but these gatherings are just increasing the power of the people to come forward and petition government for our right to know the truth. So that's Altair.
Alan, while you're here, because we do need to start wrapping up, what do you want people to know? What do you want to promote in terms of you, new realities? How can our audience support you?
Well, thank you, Scott. So what am I doing? I'm doing probably another class of remote viewing by making contact with Zenka in October, I think is our next one, where we actually learn the basics of extending our minds into non-local realities. And then we're doing exactly what the government is doing right now. And that's documented. They're using remote viewing to contact ETs and the craft and go to distant planets like TRAPPIST-1 and see who's there. And we're getting incredible results, aren't we, Zenka? I mean,
yeah, it's so fun. I mean, anybody can do this stuff, but it takes sitting yourself down with other people and a guy like Alan to walk you through it, and then having those repeated experiences. So, it's a lot funner to do this kind of research and this experiment with other people that are also down with trying it out.
But I also say, get my book, which is a collection of essays by what people I call the best and brightest in the UFO research: Linda Moulton Howe, Whitley Strieber, Grant Cameron, John Mack. I have an unpublished essay by John Mack, even though he's been gone for 20 years. What he left behind is still as important as it was 20 years ago. JJ and Desiree Hertog, who I'm touring the country with, talking about the interdimensional hypothesis. I just talked about that at Contact in the Desert. Maybe we'll get Altair at Contact in the Desert, Zenka. And I'm going to Sweden to lead, if there's people listening from Sweden, CE5, and talk about making contact. And then I'm going to England for a Glastonbury Portal to Ascension conference, and then Egypt, but that's sold out. So anyway, that's some of what I'm doing. But when you follow, when you find your passion, like these doors open up, it's like, oh my God, this is like what I want to do, and I'm doing it. That's what Zenka Altair, we are following. The passion is, this is the most exciting thing I could think of, devoting my energy to the transformation of human consciousness into a galactic awareness. I mean, it sounds like a science fiction movie, but it's the reality that we're going for. So anyway, that's what's happening.
Ellen, when you're speaking like that, you remind me of the science fiction book, Three Body Problem. And that is, what if you knew? So I'm just, to finish my part of this, I want you to appeal to your future selves, just as Zenka was saying. So all of you listening, connect with your future self, the future self of the awakened world, the future self of love. And if you connect with that future self, and that future self knows that you are an intergalactic citizen, that you are in connection with the entire cosmos. Imagine how that's going to shift this world. right? And even if you look at basic things like our entire industries will shift within these next few years, because as it is revealed what everybody knows and has felt, because the feeling is that there's not going to be a whole group of people that's sitting here and really feeling into this. We all have the same feeling, right? So our future selves are all right now connecting with this dream within the dream within the dream, with the power of love of civilizations, not just Earth, but civilizations beyond our own. We know, and just like John's music, find a way, connect with your future self, ask your future self, how am I going to best serve? How am I going to best serve the planet? What's my frequency? And get to work on it. Compose music, connect with people, do remote viewing, do whatever it is that you need to do, that you feel called to be part of that evolution, because it's actually already here. Your future self, as I'm speaking, already knows this. You've got the tingling or the goosebumps or the feeling of that inner knowing that knows that love is universal, it's unconditional, and it's boundless. And it literally connects us with everything right across the cosmos. So speak to that part of you and be ready, because that part of each one of us that is boundless is actually already present, and it's speaking to you right now, and it's speaking to exactly the kind of frequencies that you want to evolve right now to be ready, to be prepared. So go and play that music on your roof and watch what happens.
And everybody, let's all meet in Sedona, September 21 to September 29. I'm going to do my very best to be there, and let's all be there. Sedona is an amazing place. I spent 6 weeks there in February and March of this year. And it's a phenomenal community of people, led by Zenka. I mean, she's like the mayor of Sedona for like the cosmic tribe and family there. Let's all meet in Sedona at that time. And again, you can find out all about it by going to lightnet.org, and then just you'll find where you can click all about this event. And it's going to be amazing. Let's all be part of the Contact 250. Let's do it. Right. All right. We have 2 things left. We are going to have an Omashar song. We're also going to play a John Martin video. And Altair, you're in for a treat to watch this. It's really quite beautiful. I'm going to play some of it. I'm not going to play all of it, but this is, I just always, and I invite everybody to really drop into the vibration of John's work. Drop into the vibration of how he speaks to the beings, how he plays his guitar, the love in which he invites connection. May we all learn from John. Here we go. For anybody who wasn't able to read it because there was graphics as he was playing, he explains that he started with the idea of, can I play music and present positive energy and thoughts out to the universe and get a response? And as we've heard, he's had thousands of responses like you're about to see.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you, friends. Thank you for coming to see me tonight. There's two more right there. How beautiful is that? Thank you, my friends. Hey, beautiful ones. Hey, my sweet friends. Thank you. How beautiful. Thank you, sweet friends. What a beautiful thing. Thank you, my lovely ones. Thank you for coming to see me tonight. Thank you, sweet friends. Thank you, beautiful ones. So beautiful. Thank you. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, my sweet dear friends. Thank you. It is so good to see you tonight. I'll see you in a minute. I'm heading to the park. It's never randomness to friends. Wow. Maybe that's not the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. Love to see another big, beautiful ship. Whoa. That was amazing. Was that all last night? Look at it all, which was so beautiful. Showing him this is not happenstance. This is deliberate. Thank you, sweet friends. Wow. Of course. Oh, look how beautiful on this side of the clouds, too. That is so wonderful. Thank you. Hey, my friends. Hey, beautiful ones. Hey, gorgeous friends. Airplane going by. That's kind of cool. He's on that side, you're on this side. Thank you, lovely ones. You're so awesome. Thank you. Wow, look at you go. That's wonderful.
I'm going to pause it because this is a beautiful 17-minute video. I will put the link into the chat box so people can watch the entire thing. But Altair, Zenka, isn't it just beautiful listening to how John speaks to them and plays his guitar? It opens my heart.
Yeah, you know, we do this radio class where we speak to ETs on these ham radios, and we had this guy Ricky Stiles who develops a lot of these apps to talk to ghosts. And I was like, can we use it to talk to ETs? He's like, I have no idea. We could try. And we did. And what they said to us, they used their voices and they said, sing to us. That was their instructions on how to make contact. They said, sing to us. And so this season, in the season 4 contact labs that we're doing, we decided to have a whole team dedicated to making music with ETs. So we're giving them all these different devices. We've got like a theremin type thing where they can touch this and get close to it. We've got this this device, and I loved the Omashar's like music because it was talking about trees. So you can hook this up to a tree or a crystal. They played it on a glass table the other night where we weren't even touching it. So, and then I talked to Ricky today and he's like, oh, I have this phone app that they can actually use to play music. So we decided on Friday, we're going to sing to them to start them. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm not touching this. And they're talking right now. Wow. So they're coming through. They've been kind of patient to talk. Wow, this is really cool. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
It's that easy. Absolutely. I mean, that's how you do it, Zenka. You project the best of yourself, whatever that is, to the universe. And the universe is so ready and open and loving and excited when we've made the effort to reach out and speak to them. You know, it's just a gorgeous interchange. And, you know, the experience is a two-way experience. You know, they send love to me, I send love to them, and we just have an absolutely glorious time. And it's so much fun. And I so highly recommend it.
It's beautiful. John, thank you. It's so beautiful. You remind me of the many nights I've spent with my daughter out speaking to the stars, and they respond straight away because they can feel the heart of the child, the cosmic child in each one of us. So a real great blessing to sit in your music and also feel the wonders of how the cosmos responds. I really feel it.
And I can feel your frequency, Altair, and you are aligned beautifully with the universe. And that's what happens is you're just naturally aligned with something that's so inspiring and so beautiful and so important and so loving and giving. And it's so amazing, really. I will say one thing. I have a history going far back. My father was a aeronautical engineer with Lockheed, and I was about to be put into a project, and my father scuttled his entire career because he didn't want to put me through that. It could have been a very detrimental event. And I spoke with Whitley, and actually he went into that program himself, and it was very detrimental to him. So this goes back very far with me.
Hey, Zenka, what were your radios saying that you were just holding there?
Oh, so they're actually playing this right now. They just started playing again. So this is brand new.
What is it though? What is it you got there? Hey, Adam.
I don't know. Okay, they're doing it right now.
This has been sitting here the whole time on.
What is it though?
They're playing. So this is the theremin. So it's okay. So they can it's electromagnetic device that, okay, well, that's me because I just got my hand close to it, right? So when there's different lights. So from far away to close, it will make will make beeps, and then it also measures the change in temperature. So yeah, I mean, they've been making kind of music on the radios, beep, 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 but this is so cool because they have a couple more, more. Well, that might've been my nose actually, but when you guys said that, we were talking about serenading them because they were like play music for us. Then all of a sudden it started to make noise, and it's so, yeah. So I'm excited. We're hoping to release the first EP on Spotify with 4 songs by the end of the 8 weeks. And just explore, because it's like you said, you guys, it's a permission portal at this point. The collective has not quite yet decided if they're going to allow them into this reality, but for now it's permission based. So you say, I want to make contact, you open your heart, you sing or serenade them, and then they can come over because you've asked, you've said it's okay.
Right. Yeah, those radios go off wildly when we're out looking at the stars, the CE5s in Sedona. Scott, you got to do that with Zenka CE5.
Yeah, they'll be quiet. These radios will be quiet, and we'll have 6 or 7 of them all making different sounds, which is breaking the laws of physics. So this is revolutionary citizen science. This is like interdimensional contact, you guys. And they started using my porch lights on and off with the signals we have. So 1 beep is yes, 2 beeps is no, 3 is clapping, and 4 4 is clapping, 3 is asking another question. So they were turning off the lights, and we were asking questions, and they were going beep, beep for 2, beep, beep, beep with the lights. So they've done it with the radios. So I am convinced that they're right here waiting to embrace us, waiting to talk to us. Like they want this. I want this.
You know what's so amazing about Zenka, Scott? I don't know if you know her history. She wasn't always like this. She was a very straight computer sort of geek. And it's only in the last few years that she got ignited and she's leading the community in Sedona. She is so on fire. People bend spoons in her presence. That's what I say about her.
When I was staying there, I went into one of her rooms and there were all these bent spoons. There was like a whole little, all the bent spoons.
But you guys, I don't even think I'm doing it anymore. I think that they're doing it. I mean, I picked up this fork from the ground the other day and I set it on my computer and I started to work and I looked up and it had been bent. So, I mean, it could be my consciousness. I don't know, but it's also like evidence of, it could be also evidence of them loving me.
Yeah.
Can I say, I received a request for some videos during the solstice, and it was from Zenka, and I sent it to her. And this is how all of this came to be, Scott, is how I met you and all these lovely people. So Zenka, thank you.
Thank you, John. You are pure love, and music is the language of our hearts. It's not of our minds. We got to get out of our minds. And so you are like a pure example, because when you see the ships, you're always like, hey, thank you so much. Like that's the energy. That's the energy that creates it. So I look up to you so much and honor you so much, John. Thanks for the work you're doing.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, Zenka. Thank you.
Great. It is a love fest here, Scott. Yes.
It is a love fest.
Only one way to end a love fest like this, and that is to go to Omashar. So I want to invite everybody to get ready to move and groove to the music, because this is how we integrate all the love and all the beauty. And really, please, let's all meet up in Sedona for Contact 250. Let's all buy John's book. Let's all support this amazing awakening world. Omashar, you know what? Just one moment before, and I can see you're still getting it together. Tomorrow night, people have been asking, I've put into the chat box a few times, and I'll put it again. There is a different Zoom room link. I've put it in the chat box, I'll put it in again, and I will email it to our subscribers. So again, to be part of tomorrow's very special edition of the Awakening World, definitely use the Zoom room link.
What's happening, Scott? What's the theme of the show?
It's,
you're going to show.
Yeah, I'm showing it. So,
good.
So we have a live event happening here in Ashland that I'm producing. The Twin Ray are going to do a satsang. Satsang means divine discourse in community. And so they're going to share some wisdom. Kristen Hoffman's going to play music. She's here in Ashland visiting. It's going to be a beautiful live event, and we're going to live stream it out tomorrow night from 6 p.m. till about 8:30. So I will put in the chat box the Zoom room link for tomorrow night only. I'll also email it to our subscribers. So anybody watching on Facebook, you can still go to globalpeacetribe.com, register. You'll get all the Zoom room links, including the one for tomorrow. So thank you. I want to kind of make clear on that. And Omashar, are you ready?
Yes, we are here and now, and it's past to leave the past behind. So take me by the hands, let us walk across the sacred land. I am you, though we seem to come from different skies. What is true is the light that shines right through your eyes. I'll sail away with you across the universe. I will fly on eagle's wings, and you know we'll cry with gratitude. Remember, you're always divinely connected. Our spirits, our bodies are being resurrected. The love in your hearts will lift you up, and I'll come along and fill your cup. I am you, though we seem to come from different skies. And what is true is the light that shines right through your eyes. 1,000 sunny days describes the joy I feel. I'd walk 1,000,000 miles, 'cause you know we'll see the truth revealed. Remember, you're always divinely connected. Our spirits, our bodies are being resurrected. The love in your hearts will lift you up, and I'll come along and fill your cup. I am you, though we seem to come from different skies. And what is true is the light that shines right through your eyes. Yeah.
Perfect song, perfect show. Everybody take this show, send it out to your friends. Let's light the world up with love and choosing. We are choosing contact. We are choosing connection. We are choosing an awakening world. And I am honored to share this with all of you. Altair, Zenka, Omashar, John Martin, and our beautiful audience. I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being with us. And take care, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow night as we bring the Twin Ray and Kristen Hoffman, who are amazing, together live. You can always drive up to Ashland, Oregon and be with us live. But for those of you who can make it to Ashland tomorrow, I will see you all online. Much love, everybody. See you tomorrow night.